that we pull the strings. See what I did there? Okay, go ahead. So, 53, just 2 years later, Britain and the U.S. orchestrated a coup. Do you hear me? This is CIA. We orchestrated a coup and overthrew him, replaced by Reza Pahlavi. Who did we put back in place? The people that had previously what? The Pahlavi dynasty that let us suck out all of the money. Why? What did we do for the Pahlavis? We took all of the oil, but paid them handsomely. The Pahlavi family, the Pahlavi dynasty, what about them killing anybody and everybody that they feel compelled to kill? What do we care? No problem. No problem. Do what you want. Here's your money, here's your money, here's your money, as long as what? We keep that oil coming. Keep that oil coming. Go ahead. Oh, go back. Go back. The CIA and British officers hired leaders of a bunch of street gangs in Tehran, used them to help create the impression that the rule of law had totally disintegrated in Iran. They hired a second mob to attack the first mob to give the people the impression that there was no police presence and order had completely disintegrated. I think it's MI6. Isn't MI6 the British, like CIA? Right? That they were doing this stuff. We did this stuff. Go ahead. In the middle of the Cold War, the United States played a role in the overthrow of democratically elected Iran. We did that. Democratically elected in the 50s. Go ahead. There he is. The Shah, Pahlavi, embraced westernization and called the White Revolution, poorly worded, social welfare system, modern education system, and secular courts. That's why the Shah, is going to get overthrown. And, go ahead. He's on the next slide, I'm sure. All right, women got the right to vote and to work outside the home. Polygamy was banned. Why? What is that? Islam. And what kind of law is Islam? Sharia law. Western-style dress was encouraged. Remember? In the 50s. Go ahead. The White Revolution included land reform, bought land from rich and sold at low prices to the poor, but many peasants remained landless. Go ahead. Okay. He's rich and famous. Who made him rich and famous? We did. Shah viewed as a dictator who used secret police, the Savak, to crush political opposition. Many viewed him as a puppet of foreign powers. Go ahead. His people are starving. There he is. His attempts to westernize Iran angered the religious conservatives, Muslims, Shia majority in Iran, and his authoritarian rule angered the liberals. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. The Iranian Revolution was led by elite clerics toppled the Shah who fled the country. When the devil leaves, the angel returns. Go ahead. The Shia cleric Ayatollah Khomeini. This is the beginning of radical Islam. So this guy, Ayatollah Khomeini, radical Islam, you don't have to know the name. Just an Ayatollah. Even if you say Ayatollah, I don't care what you say. Religious extremists, you can say. You know what I mean? If you're EBD. Became supreme leader of Iran, forming a theocracy in 1979. That's the critical part. Starting in 1979, what's going to happen and spread all over the Middle East? Radical Islam, and that every place will become a theocracy. What's that mean? The religious leaders rule. Go ahead. The dictatorship is gone. Bring on the dictatorship. What? Go back. What the hell does that mean? Go ahead. Khomeini defended Islamic fundamentalism. Everybody in the Middle East after 79, they're going to what? They're going to go back. Some of them even are trying to recreate the caliphate. Look at me. Sykes-Picot. What did Sykes-Picot do?
Split up the
That's the one that drew the lines. Remember the two people? A British guy and a French guy split up the lines during World War I? The people that want a new caliphate want to do what? Get rid of all the lines. And make them be like the Ottomans again. Make them, but it's not Ottomans, they're Arab, right? Remember, Arabs and Turks are what? Two entirely different people who fought against each other in World War I. Do you understand me? Turks and Arabs are not friends. They are not friends. They fought against each other, but the Arabs want to recreate the caliphate. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Take your stuff just in case. We are not afraid of economic sanctions or military intervention. What we're afraid of is Western universities. What are they trying to do? Rid themselves of all Western influence. Go ahead. Did I read that? Khomeini supported jurists' guardianships. Cleric had authority over unfortunate people, but the extended meaning to include the Shia community, meaning that Khomeini is going to control everybody. Go ahead. Oh, wait. The fundamental difference between Islamic government on the one hand and constitutional monarchy and republics on the other is this. Whereas the representatives of the people or the monarch in such regimes engage in legislation, in Islam, the legislative power and competence to establish laws belongs exclusively to God Almighty, meaning what kind of law again?
Sharia.
Sharia law. Sharia law. Women are stoned to death. Women are stoned to death for the crime of having been raped. It's your fault. It's your fault that you were raped. Why is it your fault, Malia? Well, also, if you got raped, who was not with you? Men, because you were supposed to only be out of the house with men. So they would literally stone women to death for having gotten raped. What about the people that raped them? Nothing. Nothing. Go ahead. Khomeini suppressed all opposition, hoping to purify the country of secular values. Thousands were executed in the name of revolutionary justice. Go ahead. By the way, it doesn't say it here, but you'll have to know next year. The Iranian hostage crisis is 1979, and in the Iranian hostage crisis, they stormed the U.S. embassy. Khomeini and all of these people storm the U.S. embassy, and they take all of the people in the embassy hostage. What is that similar to just now this weekend? The Sudan. Who knows the Sudan's in civil war right now? Does anybody know this? Current events? Sudan's in civil war, and this weekend 2 or 3 Chinook helicopters flew into the Sudan that had a pause in the civil war and got all of our people from the United States Embassy out. What happened in Iran in 1979 is they overtook the embassy and they kept them hostage for 444 days. And they got to leave the day that Reagan took office. The hostages were released after 444 days, moments after Ronald Reagan took office. Some said that he had had a conversation with them about keeping them hostage until he won the presidential election. I'm sure there's stuff out there about that. So, the new government was extremely anti-West. It still is anti-West. Western books, music, movies banned and called the U.S. the Great Satan. They called Jimmy Carter the Great Satan. That's still today, the Great Satan. In the Middle East, we are definitely still referred to as the Great Satan. The Imam called America the Great Satan. He believed that all the Muslims' problems were caused by America. Caused by what? Westernization, caused by imperialism. Go ahead. Oh, there it is. Iranians seized the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and held 52 hostages for 444 days. It's called the Iran hostage crisis. Again, they released them the moments after Reagan takes office. Very suspicious. Go ahead. It is fishy. Go ahead. Oh, see, wait. Reagan takes oath as 40th president, promises an era of national renewal. 50 minutes later, 52 hostages are released. Why is that? Go ahead. He hasn't even done anything. He just took the oath of office. Iran encouraged Muslims and other countries to overthrow secular governments and establish Islamic republics. So from 1979, Iran inspired everybody to what? In the Middle East. Go back to our Muslim roots, go back to our Islamic roots, get rid of the Western imperialists. That's why what you know, how many of you know radical Islam is in your life? That's what you think of Islam. I'm teaching you an entirely different thing where it was what? Religiously tolerant for all of time. Jews, Muslims, and Christians, what? It's okay. It's okay. 1980, 1988, Iran fought the neighbor Iraq, fueled by Sunni Shia split and oil supplies along the shared border. Go ahead. There's an Iran-Iraq war. In recent, Iran and Iraq don't like each other, but they are all Shia. Everybody remember? Sunni were in control, that's why. The Sunni were in control in Iraq, even though they were a minority. Who did we just talk about was a minority that had a genocide? The Rwandan massacre, the Tutsis, had a The Hutu had a genocide against the Tutsis. The international community has attempted to thwart Iran's nuclear ambitions. Actually, Obama had gotten them to agree to stall and stop trying to get that. And then Trump came in office and said what? We throw out that deal. And then now what are they doing again? Trying to make nuclear weapons again. We had a deal with Obama that said that they would stop trying to make nuclear weapons, but then, I don't know why, Trump threw it out and said that it's no longer valid. So now they're making nuclear weapons again. Go ahead. Okay? Death to Israel, death to Israel. I told you that we said why that Muslim nations say they didn't have a right to exist. Why?
Good morning, here are your morning announcements.
Do you remember?
There is no afternoon.
Because when they said Israel was a country in 1948, all the Muslim nations that voted said no. We don't say that they have a right to exist. They don't have a right. You said they could stay here in the Balfour Declaration. We didn't say they could come here. What percent of Palestine was Jewish in 1895? 2 to 5%. 2 to 5% in 1948. After the Holocaust, during the whole first half, what happened? Zionism. Everybody moved where? Because the Balfour Declaration said that Jews may have a home in Palestine. Go ahead. Okay. Update alert. President Trump called the Iran deal horrible, and the U.S. withdrew from the deal in 2018. Trump said the U.S. would work with our allies to find a real, comprehensive, and lasting solution to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. Iran's leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, responded stating, I said from the first day, don't trust America. The American flag was set on fire in Iran's parliament. And he threw out the deal that had them not. Oh, good, perfect. Perfect. What slide am I on? Bye.